Hello and welcome to today's Shorts Roundtable. I'm Paul Sloop, the Short Films Programming Manager for the Cleveland International Film Festival, and I'll be hosting today's talk. Before we get started, however, we want to take a moment here to offer special thanks to PNC for sponsoring our Filmmaker Conversations content throughout this year's festival. On today's roundtable, we'll be joined by filmmakers representing some of the films that are playing as part of After Hours Shorts Program 2. So with that in mind, allow me to welcome our guests to today's conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us for today's chat. The first thing I'd like to ask all of you to do is introduce yourselves, your film, what your role was on the film, and where you're calling in from today. And we'll start with Upamanyu.
Hi, I'm Upamanyu Bhattacharya. I'm calling in from Kolkata, India, and I'm the co-director of Wait, which was also a film set in Kolkata, India.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm the writer and director of Witchin, and I'm calling from Los Angeles.
Hi everyone, I'm Stella Flicker. I'm the producer of I Am, the short film from Germany. We're calling in from Germany, and I'm here with my director of photography, Lena Krause. Hi.
Hi, I'm Kalp Sangvi. I'm calling in from Calcutta, India, and I'm the co-director of Wade.
Hi, I am Kantu Lentz. I am the writer-director of Jack and Joe Don't Want to Die, and I'm calling in from Los Angeles as well.
Hey, I'm Ben Lorenz. I was writer, actor, and producer on Freezer Burn, and I'm calling from New York City.
Great. Again, thank you all for taking the time to be here with us today. To get us started, what I'd ask each of you to do is let us know what was the inspiration for making the film, what led to the making of the film, or perhaps how you came to be involved in the making of your particular short film. And again, we'll start with Upamanyu.
Yeah. When we set out to make an animated short film immediately out of college, we came back to our hometown, which is Kolkata, which is on the east side of the country, and our college was in the west. And we wanted to find something that really belonged to the space to make a film out of. So it started with wanting to really address something that belonged to the space that we grew up in and everything. So from that point of view, it was very important that we find such an issue. And the more we were looking, the more we found that climate change and a future around climate change was something that is really heading our way, given our proximity to the sea and given our proximity to, being right in the path of rising sea levels. So it got us quite worried, and that's where the film really originated, to try to envision a future around climate change. So that's where we were coming from when we started making Wait, to really engage with that.
Great, thank you. And Culp, since you're involved in the same film, let's skip down to you. Anything to add to that and how you came to work on it as well?
Yeah, basically that, we wanted to come back to our hometown, like you mentioned, but a little specific, I'd say, after that would be this particular article that both of us came across, which spoke about the Ghoramara River Islands in the Sundarban Delta, which is just south to our city, and how hundreds and thousands of families were being displaced because of the water level rise. And that sort of scared us. And if this is continuing, and Kolkata will be next in line for that. So that fear sort of gave rise to this film.
Gotcha. It's stunning animation. Great work, guys. Christina, let's go to you next.
So my film is about a witch student who has to find the big dick energy ingredient in the world of humans. So these two elements, the witches and the big dick energy, came when I was vacationing in one of my favorite Greek islands. I'm from Greece, by the way, and which is a very kind of a fairy-like island full of mountains and waterfalls and stuff like that. And everyone is very hippie-esque and very playful. So there's a lot of witchy energy into the island. And this is something that I was always drawn to. So this kind of influenced the world of the film. And then at the time, it was like 3-4 years ago, when this first story came up, there was a lot of discussion about the big dick energy on Instagram. It was a viral thing. It was more of a common thing to talk about. So I had this idea that maybe this is an actual ingredient that someone will have to go out and look for, and wanted to play with like the feministic kind of references that would inform that.
It's a clever, fun film. Thank you,
Thank
Christina.
you.
Stella and Lena.
So yes, I Am is our final film that we produced in a university at film school in Hamburg in Germany. And it was a collective of 4 people. It was us, the 2 of us, and the director and scriptwriter. And we came up with the story of I Am because we were thinking about how artificial intelligence, and especially androids, and especially female androids, are displayed in our society these days. And we thought about what it could look like in the future, and we hope to see some more Black females and Black female androids out there. And so we came up with the 2 protagonists for I Am.
Great. Very impressive work. I'm thrilled that we're going to be able to share it. Thank you for giving us that opportunity. Cantu.
Yeah. Jack and Joe Don't Want to Die takes place in a clinic where you can basically freeze yourself if you're like terminally ill, depressed, or just want to escape your own life. And that idea came to me because I am Jack, our character in the film, who's the overnight clerk who is depressed because he's heartbroken. He just wants to disappear. And on the last night before he chooses to freeze himself, he encounters a young girl who's being frozen due to lack of funds. And the movie basically came to me because I wanted to create 2 characters who were at opposite spectrums of life, right? But still had something in common and had different perspectives on how to get through pain. So, and I wanted to have those 2 characters, those 2 philosophies in a way, have a conversation with each other, meaning Jack being a character or a philosophy that when in pain runs away and hides and just wants to disappear, and Joe, someone who at all adversity will go head in first and wants to live no matter what. And I wanted to see what happens when those 2 people find each other. How do they impact each other's lives?
As you can hear from the descriptions, your films are wildly different. It is all the different emotional beats your films give us the opportunity to share within a program. It's the way we love to do it here. And your film, Cantu, just gave us that connecting feeling that we need to pull the program together. So thank you. Ben.
Yeah, so our film Freezer Burn is about Lou on the night that she decides to come out to her unsuspecting boyfriend, which precipitates the arrival of a chaotic kind of magical cat creature of unknown origin. And we see her have the chance to give him this news, and for the 2 of them to absorb this news and kind of move forward in that scene. And then again, a couple of months later, out on Brighton Beach. And I think we were inspired by Sonia's experience, particularly of feeling like in a world where identity is increasingly important, that she was stuck somewhere in between a few different identities and not sure exactly how to navigate that kind of gray area, both in terms of her sexuality, but also her race and various other kinds of identity groups. And so we wanted to make a movie that explores that feeling of being in between and the discomfort and chaos that can come with trying to find yourself, I guess.
In a world filled with cat videos, this is by far the best use of the cat in a film. This is fantastic, lots of fun. I would follow up with all of you and ask you to share a story. Just the one thing, not necessarily a story, but any one thing, fact you'd think the audience would appreciate knowing about your film that they wouldn't know just from watching it. Sometimes that's a cosmic string story that allowed the film to be made, or just something funny that happened, or a challenge you faced. Anything that you think would be really interesting for the audience to know about the behind the scenes in making your film. And again, we'll start with you, Upamanyu.
Yeah, so one thing which is apparent from our film is that there are a lot of tigers in it, and tigers are not something that we come across on a day-to-day basis. So one of the interesting things about working as directors who are also animating on the project and kind of trying to do everything in such a limited team was we had to crack the motion of these tigers. So every shot you see of a tiger has a video hidden somewhere of us acting like that tiger to kind of get into the tiger's body and mind. So we have footage of every single shot acted out as either one of us pretending to be a tiger biting off someone's arm, pretending to be a tiger falling into the water. So yeah, I mean that's where the reference comes from for our animation. So that was very fun to do. Yeah.
Great. We'll skip down to Culp so you can add one as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was one of the most interesting things that we could do, because like walking on twos is what we do every day, because that's what we do. But like on fours was the challenging part, and like with every tiger we drew, there would be another layer of the patches and the stripes, and like so many stripes on the body, and those little patches on the ear and all of that. So it was extremely challenging. And then there's this one shot in the film which got around 9 to 10 tigers, and that literally took around 4 to 5 animators and took almost 4 weeks to finish. And the night it got over, the next morning when I composited together and we saw it, it just like got over in 4 seconds, and I was like, what? But it was amazing to at least see what came together and how it all worked out. And another thing was, we literally had to record all these splash noises and all of that. So we had gone to Bombay, where a sound designer works, and we literally traveled to around 2 to 3 hours away from the city to find a very quiet spot. And we literally found this nice quiet river, and both of us, the sound designer would just follow us with the recorder, and both of us would just splash into the water and literally just go crazy. And
That's great.
yeah, that was fun. And it was insane how difficult it is to walk in water.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. It's always great to hear the backstory and all the work that goes into animation. So thank you. Christina.
So one thing is, this film was my thesis from the American Film Institute, and the way we fund our thesis projects is we generate a general fundraising process, and we reach out to all our network and ask for support and help. But our case was a little bit different because most of my family and friends were in Greece, but due to the ongoing financial crisis, the Greek banks are having capital controls. So all of our donors weren't able to support us through the classic easy process. And, we try to make it as easy as possible to everyone who helps us. But they actually had to jump a lot of hoops to help us. And basically this, I don't know if anyone can see it, I can tell from watching the film, but I wish they know how much love and support has gone into the project. And it's really an insane kind of way that we're able to connect so much with all these people and still get help for something that we love.
It's great. Great story. Thank you. Stella and Lena.
Yes, so for I Am, maybe a funny story to tell is that for the android, we tried to get a doll that was as the same size as the actress. And the weird reason, or the weird thing, is that there are sex dolls that look just very, very human. And we had to get one, or we decided to get one to shoot all the scenes where the android is not alive yet. And that was a very weird experience for all of us to get this doll and order it from China and then shoot with this weird doll that had a very strange purpose. And then, and just combining it with the actress, who was very great, was an exciting experience.
Yeah, and it was really hard to find a good light, which is good for the skin of the real actress and also for the sex doll. So we were all the time switching the doll and the actress at the same day, and so we always had to relight. And it was so funny because one time we had the sex doll lying there on the table, and then it was the actress, and so that was really fun and really weird.
Interesting. And the compromises we make to make the films, right?
Yes, I never thought I would.
Thank you. Cantu.
A funny story now is for Jack and Joe is that we filmed it 4 months apart because we started in January and it was 2019, and we had those crazy rains out here in LA, and we were filming at a functioning power plant, and the pipe broke on the ceiling of the main room, which meant that the entire space where Jack's office is, which is this huge like warehouse type of thing, was 4 inches of water. So we had to, thankfully, our insurance was able to cover this, and we didn't have to film it wherever. but yeah, that was was constantly nervous and constantly sort of pushing the dates because I was terrified of having another rain day, because also the space wouldn't allow us to fix the hole in the ceiling, which meant that if there was any amount of rain, the shoot was going to get canceled again. So like anything in filmmaking, it always feels like a miracle that you get anything done, but especially in this case, it was like, oh man, it exists.
The challenges you're forced to overcome. We're glad you were able to overcome it. Thank you. Ben.
Yeah, and I think speaking of miracles of low budget filmmaking, I think a couple of things come to mind. One being, so the conceit of the cat is that one of the two characters sees a literal cat, and the other one, looking at the same space, sees this humanoid cat creature, which meant that there was a lot of filming the same thing twice, but with our cat actor and then our human cat actor, and our cat actor had never acted before. She was somewhat of a diva, and but luckily we were able to figure it out, and we got some good. We just shot her stuff first, and then had our human actor try and mimic a few moments, and we got just like enough. But we really had no idea what we were going to get going in, so it was tough to plan around. The chaos of that was fun. And then speaking of chaos, when we shot on the beach, there was like a brief but violent riot about 15 yards from where we were shooting on the beach. There were a couple of, this is Brighton Beach. I don't know if anybody has been to York, but just some groups of guys, some groups of guys who'd been hanging out all night. We were there earlier in the morning, and they were drunk, and so there was a multiple person stabbing and a bunch of police cars that swarmed the beach right behind where we were shooting as our executive producer was pulling up, and we just kept going. But such is the life of a low budget run and gun New York filmmaker, I guess.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. We're glad you all survived your shoots and were able to end up with completed films, and we really appreciate the opportunity to share them. Thank you all for sharing your stories and your insights on your films. We really appreciate it. So on behalf of everyone at CIFF, thank you for joining us for today's roundtable. We also want to thank you, our audience, for joining us for today's Shorts Roundtable. Without your ongoing support, we wouldn't be here with you to bring film home. We hope you'll consider supporting our challenge match again this year, presented by Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, to support the future of our festival. Our goal is to reach $145,000 this year, and we are so grateful in advance for any amount you're able to contribute. To make a donation or to purchase tickets or to check out our full schedule of filmmaker conversations, please visit our website at clevelandfilm.org. With that, please stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here again very soon. Thank you, everyone, for participating today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.